Go off. Go off. Go off.
Peace, everyone. It's the Scoop of Fari X. I'm back early in this afternoon. Y'all know I don't normally do, Sunday interviews at 3 p.m. But by request, I kind of changed up the times and everything because I have quite a few people coming on today. But right now on this segment, I got the mighty Hebrew coming on. He about to give us some knowledge about the pre-Antediluvian history. He's going to give us some insight on the whole, breakdown of becoming nationalized or nationalism through Hebrewism. Is that what it's called? I'm sorry if I broke it down wrong because I'm not a Hebrew, So we finna learn some shit today because he got it all. He's about to break it all down, right? So yes, he's gonna tell us about becoming a Hebrew. He's gonna tell us about that the past, all the way back millions of years ago. You feel what I'm saying? He was just on some other people's podcasts breaking down some knowledge and stuff like that. And I'm curious. I want to know what he got to say. So I've been like kind of on his head for the past 2 days trying to make sure he getting on the show because I'm like, okay, what the hell going on? What's this man talking about? Like, I need to know. He be all on everybody else's podcast. He be doing the debates and all that stuff like that. So today it ain't a debate. He's just gonna give us some information, a lot of information that we can soak up. So all my Hebrew Israelites friends out there, y'all watching, y'all get ready because he's finna come on right now. The mighty Hebrew. Peace, peace, peace. Oh, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Unmute your mic. Unmute your mic. All right.
Okay. Shalom.
Yeah.
Jumbo. Islam. What's going on?
Peace, peace, peace. Now, okay. What exactly?
How you feeling?
I'm feeling great.
Honor to be on your show.
Thank you. I'm honored to have you on my show.
Good.
I'm trying to break down exactly what you're about to be telling us about. And I'm like, the Hebrewism, nationalism. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, he about to tell us. We need to know.
Absolutely.
So,
you mean Hebrew Yisraelite nationalism? Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, that right there.
Yeah, we're going to get into that in the Pre-Antedilulvian civilization. Absolutely.
Right. But you know what I want you to tell us about first? Because there's a lot of people who don't know who you are. You know what I mean? That's on my page. I want you to actually, tell the people who you are so they can know what they're getting ready to get into. You know what I mean? What they're getting ready to learn. Because there's people who are just like, who is he? The mighty Hebrew. He's a Hebrew, and they're wondering how you're going to be dressed on the show and so forth. So explain who you are. Let them know about yourself.
Absolutely. Shalom Bahashim Yahweh YISRAEL. This is Tribal Minister Nasik Prince SHAR LANDIIN. Then I'm MATAZARYAM YASHARAHLA Senior. Y'all know me as the mighty Hebrew. I give all praise and honor to Yahweh in so the supreme, intelligent, powerful of our forefathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Those striving for righteousness' sake, saying to the family, Shalom Aleichem. It's the mighty Hebrew. It's definitely an honor and a privilege. Everybody on social media all over the world know me as the mighty Hebrew. I'm a prince in making a better world. I'm the Prince Asiel Ben Yisrael, one of the major founders of the original African Hebrew Israelite nation in DIMONA, Israel, Northeastern Africa. A lot of y'all know me on Side Nega TV, debating, big cats like Natural Tahuti, Sarah Segi, Polite, the list goes on and on. Give a shout out to all them brothers. Give a shout out to Side Neta. Give a shout out to Killer Priest, Hellraiser, Teller B, the whole Hebrew Israelite sovereign nation. Yeah, I'm from the streets of North Philly in the area known as Hameen Park. When I was 17, I got into the knowledge of being an Israelite. I'm 43 now. I started going to the School of the Prophets in 1999. That's stationed in DIMONA, Israel. I got my master's degree in African Middle Eastern Studies. In 2013, I wound up getting my degree in Divine Hebrew Fundamentalism. 2016, I wound up becoming a prince and making a better world under Prince Asiel Ben Yisrael. Also in 2016, I opened up, me and Dr. Yoel Ben Yisrael, I opened up an accredited university that's online known as the Mighty Hebrew University. You can log into that at www.themightyhebrew.com. I'm also a tribal nobleman and a spokesman for the United Nations of Israel. By the way, I'm Ambassador Abraham Ben Levi Ben YISRAEL. You can go to www.yahwehgather.us. I'm the founder of Hebrew Israelite Sovereign Nationalism, Hebrew Anthropogenesis, Hebrew Cosmogenesis, Understanding Ancient Archaic Hebrew Symbolism, and the Mighty Hebrew Israelite Sovereign Nationalistic Research Team. The list goes on and on. But there I came up through North Philly, got into the culture, started writing for the African Worldview, Jerusalem Chronicle newspaper for over 5 years. You know, lectured all around the world, lectured all throughout the United States, opened up Israelite communities throughout the United States. So right now, I'm just pushing hard Hebrew Israelite Sovereign Nationalism, which is to consolidate all Hebrew Israelite camps all over the world. Don't matter if you're Torah only, mystical, messianic, Talmudic center, it don't matter. All of us are Hebrew Israelite sovereign nationals that are, in fact, Hebrew Israelites by the way of the Constitution, and us being Hebrew Israelite sovereign nationalists, we are the governmental body politic. So it's definitely an honor to be here. But whenever you're ready, the first portion of the presentation I want to get into what I coin as pre-Antediluvian civilization and history. Right. I hope I spelled it good enough for you, sis.
You did. You know, I had no clue I had no clue what you was talking about, honestly. I was like, okay, I'm just ready to hear it. You know, I was like, whatever he got to bring, I'm ready to hear it. So let's get to it. You know, tell us about this.
That last little part, I didn't hear. Say that one more part.
I said, I was saying, part. Yeah,
I didn't hear everything.
I was saying to you, I had what it was that you were going to talk about. I read it, but I had no clue about it. So I was like, you know what? I'm just ready for it. I want to know. I'm always learning and willing to, you know, find out new things and so forth. So I'm like, I want to hear about it. Tell me about it, because I have a lot of people that don't know about it either. So let me know.
Absolutely. Well, what I developed is something called Hebrew cosmogenesis as well as Hebrew anthropogenesis. I got the idea from studying different philosophical books such as The Secret Doctrine, Isis Unveiled, lecture notes of the School of Wisdom by Godfrey Hudson, and there are many other esoteric teachers that.
I don't know what happened. He done disappeared. All right, so let's give him a minute to get back on. Before he went live with me, he told me that he's in a bad reception area right now around some mountains and so forth. So he's having a little bit of difficult time, you know, connecting and so forth. So let's give him some time. But in any case, that is the Mighty Hebrew. He's getting ready to break down pre-Antediluvian history, civilization, that is. And he's also going to break down to us what it is to be a Hebrew Israelite or Yisraelite. I don't know anything about it really besides what I read and what I hear and so forth, because I don't follow that path, that Hebrew Israelite path, you know, so to say. So I have no clue, you know, really what he's getting ready to say. And he is a very interesting man. He's back. He's a very interesting man. And like he said, he's been on side of the TV. He's debated with some of the greatest, you know, like he said, Polite, SETI. He's done debated with Pharaoh, and the list goes on. And you know, he doesn't stop, and that's just what he does. So if y'all haven't heard any of his debates, definitely go check him out. You know, just put his name in the Mighty Hebrew on YouTube, and you'll find all his debates. You know, but he's back though. He's back. All right.
Yeah. So please forgive me. I'm out hearing these. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. I told them that you out there in the mountains somewhere.
Cool. Yeah. I'm out in these mountains, but yeah, getting straight to the point. So this is the deal. Throughout the Black conscious Afrocentric world, there has always been a debate that many Hebrew Israelites, they lack their academic scholarship. So me getting into a lot of the original esoteric teachings of Hebrew Israelite sovereign nationalism, as well as understanding the cosmology and the anthropology of Hebrew Israelite culture and history, I developed the science known as Hebrew cosmogenesis and Hebrew anthropogenesis. And what I wanted to do is bring forth the purest cosmological understanding of the Hebrew Tanakh scriptures known as the Bereshit Code, or in a beginning code. And what I found puzzling was the disservice and the misunderstanding and misinformation that was coming from Western academia when it came to understanding the Hebrew scriptures. One of the major problems with the misunderstanding of the Hebrew scriptures is how we've been viewing the Hebrew scriptures from an abstract Western mind state, or more or less of a Hellenistic mind state. And ever since we've been in Hellenism, we've been in hell ever since. I teach at the Mighty Hebrew University to understand the scriptures by the way of the synodic, archaic, picturetic Hebrew scripts. Let me give you an example of what I mean before we start this presentation, so people will get a clear understanding or a bird's eye view as to where I'm coming from. In the Hebrew language, if one wants to say son, in Hebrew, it will be bain, or in ancient Hebrew, it will be ban. Now, from the abstract reader, it would translate as son. Ben, bain, ban, ibn, in Arabic, all that means son. But from the concrete understanding of Hebrew nikwadah, or Hebrew grammar, by the way of understanding it through the archaic symbols, when you look at a bait or ba, it's an image of a house, or to go in something or within. And then when you see the na, or the noon, it is a seed sprouting out. So having that understanding of the archaic Hebrew symbols, the word ben it's no longer son. It really means the continuation of the family. You see the difference? One is conveying abstract Western ideas that doesn't give you a classification of how a son functions, versus the Hebrew archaic symbol showing Bain being the continuation of the family is an action by the way of verb or a function. So this is what we do at the Mighty Hebrew University. What we're doing is we're bringing the Hebrew text back to its sacred, original, Shemitic, Eastern understanding. So now I'm going to begin. We've been under the impression, when you look at the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 1, you're talking about history of 6,000 years. It's inaccurate. Nowhere in the scripture does it say that this earth came about 6,000 years. That is a Christian misunderstanding that came from Yisrael's Bible dictionary back in the 1600s, when they try to, insert themselves in history. Now, when we go to the Hebrew text of Genesis 1:1, it gives us days. And you know this, sister, everybody that read basically the Bible itself. In the beginning, God created the heavens, earth, etc., etc. The first day, the second day, the third day. We know the rest of it. We've read it. We've all read it. But we've never read it and understood it based on the original archaic synodic symbols that it was written in. So now, when we look at day in Hebrew, from the abstract, yom itself means day, or the hottest or the highest peak of the day. But when you look at it by the way of the archaic Hebrew symbols, the word Yah or Yo symbolizes an outstretched arm gripping something in the palm of the hand. Then you have the Wa or the Woe, which is a peg or a nail, something that is pressing down. Then you have the Meme or the Ma, which is water waves. So when you say Yawam or Yom in Hebrew, it doesn't mean day, it means that which containeth life. So in that retrospect, each day is really defining epic a root epic or a cycle in a season, not necessarily an actual 24-hour, 7-day a week that conveyed to us, even though from the abstract, you can objectively manifest that, because Bereshit means in beginnings or in a beginning. So there were many beginnings. So to say all that, when you're reading Genesis 1:1, you're really talking about 320 to 300 million BCE. Now we're in what you would call an etheric state, where it speaks about ELYAHSHUV or Elohim. This is a singular feminine with a plural masculine, defining the feminine and masculine powers, or the feminine and masculine polarities. This is roughly 320 million BCE. We're more in an etheric state. And in this time in our history, we would mimic ourselves as one would mimic a cell. As we're trickling down the Sephirotic tree of life from ascent to descent, okay? Now when you drop in verse 2, because remember, the word day really is a containment of life. It's not literally a day. So now when you read in Bereshit, miscalled Genesis chapter 1, verse 2, now you're talking roughly 187 million BCE. Now the gigantic Elohim body is becoming more solidified and more encased or entombing itself more, but this time in a watery element. This is why you see it says, and quote unquote, God hovered over the face of the watery deep. This is only talking about Elohim now descending more from ascension, but now solidifying more. To speed it up more in physical form, when you jump down to verse 26 of Genesis 1, it speaks about how it says, and God said, let us make man in our image. This is ELYAHSHUV now more in a bodily form. Now we're talking roughly 60 million BCE. Now we in with a lot of theosophical societies call the Lemurian root epic, or what they would try to say, the Lemurian root race. At this time, we're giving birth awariously. We're not male nor female, but we're known as Ha'adam. Now, one might say, well, don't the word Adam mean man? No, again, we're dealing with abstract thought versus concrete Hebrew thought. The word man that's in English goes back to the Sanskrit word manu, which means to think or a thought. It doesn't mean Adam. The Hebrew word that you see is Ha'adam. You have a Ha or a Hey, which is an image or a man or a woman with outstretched arms. Then you have the Aleph or the Ah, which is a symbol of an ox head, which is symbolizing strength, power, first in rank. Then you have the Daleth or the Da, which is a doorway going into a path. Then you have what is known as the Ma or the Meme, which is defining, again, water waves. When you put the Daleth and the Meme together, it becomes Dam, as in the blood of grapes. Then when you put that Aleph there with Dam, it becomes Adam, which means firstborn or first blood. The Ha, now it's firstborn or first blood rising with outstretched arms. When a child is born and when the woman's water break and the child comes out, it comes out by way of water and blood with outstretched arms. So Adam is not defining a man or a woman, but it's defining an ecological system, defining environmental condition. That's what it's defining. So now when you go into Genesis 2:7, and it talks about how Yahweh Elohim or Yahweh ELYAHSHUV put Adam in the deep sleep. That's pure esoteric. That's not literal. The deep sleep is defining the separation of the polarities. 21 million BCE to 18 million BCE is the separation of the polarities. Thus born in Zokor Wa Nikiva. male and female. He created he, them, and called their name Ha-Adam. So what was going on from 21 million BCE to 18 million BCE was a tug of war. You had the feminine polarity dominating by the way of spirituality and emotionalism, and you had the masculine polarity dominating physically and psychologically. This process took roughly 3 million years. The separation occurred 18 million years. Now, from this day forward, we are giving birth as man and woman give birth today. Thus, man wasn't on the planet before women, nor was women on the planet before men. They both came on the planet at the same time. Now, something happened 17.5 million BCE. What was this? Okay, you had, for the sake of argument, we're going to, because certain names are esoteric, certain names have been lost, but for those that ain't know, for now, we're going to call them the Elohim Lumerians. Okay, this is 17.5 million BCE. What happens? Something known in the stanza of the Zion records, which is the oldest documentation of our pre-Antediluvian world history, going back 311 trillion, 40 billion years ago. It speaks about how in 17.5 million BCE, you had what was known as the sin of the mindless. The sin of the mindless were those Lumerians that were having sexual relations with species that were a part of their family. Today, you know this as the ghost gene. And you're going to see as time develops, when you start going into the fourth root epic, I'm going to show where the RH monkey DNA gene come in by the way of the Neanderthalians. Why? Because you had those of the Atlantean root epic, and we will get into that, that was having relations or sexual relations with other species that weren't a part of their human family. This is why you have ghost gene DNA and you have RH monkey DNA gene. I'm going to show you there was no evolution. There was a devolution. In fact, which you know as the Australopithecus, the Homo erectus, the Neanderthalians, the Cro-Magnons, the so-called white race, the so-called Asians, most so-called Native American tribes of Mongolian descent. These are hybrids that came by the way of the admixture of Lumerian Elohim giants and Atlanteans, mixing their seed with different species to born these hybrids. We're going to get into that in a second, but go back to 17.5 million BCE. So now you have these Lumerian giants, which is a fact, because all over the world right now, they're finding cyclopean bones all over the world. Now, we know that some of them, yeah, you know, they fake, some of them, but not all of them, not all of them. So because you can go into the Smithsonian Institute and they have these things, but we're getting to that in a second. So now what they're doing is they're making monstrosculus beings. One of them going back 14.8 million BCE. Scientifically, you know them as the Rampopithecus. Those that deal with so-called evolution, they know exactly what I'm talking about when I speak these scientific terms. But the problem is how they came about. Because in their mind, they're trying to say that we evolved, the human genome evolved from primate, when in fact, primate is really a devolution of the human family. Now watch this. So as this is going on, okay, you started to get the Lumerians, they start getting into the dark art, because at this time and going pushing the 9 million BCE, we was using more of our brain power than we're using now. And in the process of doing that, through volcanic eruption, 9 million BCE, Lemuria was destroyed. Now, what I'm doing is I'm trying to show you a ascent, descent chronology, so we can understand the dynastic periods of Kemet, so we can understand the post-dynastic periods of Sumer, Babylon, Kush. When you talk about these empires, you're talking what is known as post-Antediluvian. We're talking now pre-Antediluvian. before these civilizations. Because even if you look at what is known as Metu Netu, or if you look at what they call cuneiform, all these different hieroglyphic scripts all over the world, you can see that they were fully developed. You don't really see an evolution of them coming. Why? Because they came by the way of a higher advanced civilization. And by the way, melanated people on top of that. So continue on 9 million BCE, Lemuria is destroyed. And within these root epics or races, what happened, the seventh sub-root so-called race broke off. They was known as the Romahos. And what they did was they broke off from ancient Lemuria and went to an area what we know today as Ghana, West Africa, roughly 5.5 million BCE. There, they developed Atala, which is known as the Atlantean Empire, that stretched all the way from West Africa all the way to South America, which was known at that time as City of the Golden Gates. The other areas of Africa that weren't flooded, that was known as Grabansi. We're getting to that. 5.5 million BCE, these Romahos, they developed the Atlantean Empire. But within the Atlantean Empire, they became wicked. They started, what they was doing was transferring human brains into other younger bodies by the way of being able, through vibration and sound, to manipulate the energy or the spirit in a body and transfer it to another body. They were able to do these things. This is the type of power that they had. So now you have roughly, because I'm jumping but still staying focused because it's so much but so little time. So now we're talking roughly 1 million BCE now. The Atlantean root epic is becoming now known as the Aryan root epic. Not Aryan as in Hitler, but Aryan is a Sanskrit Hebraic term known as noblemen. So the true noblemen were us. Noblemen, noble women. We are the true Aryans. We talking about that, not a so-called race. So what happened, a fifth sub-race or root seed within the fourth root epic of Atlantis broke off. This was the original pre-Antediluvian Shemites, not those from Noah. They came much later. Now we're talking roughly 850,000 BCE. A pre-Antediluvian man by the name of Semjaza. What he did was he rose in power to crush art sorcery that was going on by the way of the Lemurian Atlantean root epic. 800,000 BCE was the first flood that destroyed, okay, it destroyed Atlantis. This is why when you look in Kemetic records, it always talk about how Kemet was back and forth going underwater. Brothers such as Infidesi and others, they'll tell you that Kemet has been underwater more than once. But a lot of them don't express why and how and what was going on. This is where I come in with my field of research, talking about the pre-Antediluvian world. Now, you have 800,000 BCE, the first flood took place. Now, as Earth is rising back, you have roughly around 600,000 BCE. Now, you're seeing these pre-Antediluvian Shemites in the City of the Golden Gates. This time we know it as today, South America. And they was fighting a lot of what you know as the pre-Toltecians, not your Toltecs that came during post-Diluvian, but your pre-Toltecs. Now, as your pre-Toltecs is conquering through sorcery and the dark arts, roughly 400,000 BCE, pyramid power was transferred over from the City of the Golden Gates to what you know as Egypt or Kemet. Lower Egypt, now these this time didn't exist, which you know as Taseti, Tahisi, Kemet, Kamata, whatever name. None of them, the children of Kam, none of them existed at this time. They come post-Diluvian. They don't exist. These are a whole nother group or species of people that lived in this region. Pre-Totex Egypt and Upper Egypt, you had, which they were a group of pre-Antediluvian Javians known as Tamal that came from out of the Indus Valley. This is why you see people like Aspie, Rod Netzer that wrote Megunetta, Aspie that wrote Egyptian Yoga, Assyrian Resurrection. Notice how they always shoot back to Hinduism. Why? Because Hinduism or Brahmanism is the ones that paved the way for the Kemetic civilization, not Brahmin or Hinduism as you know today. But I'm talking about the pre-understanding that developed that. So now you have roughly 400,000 BCE. You have the White Lodge established in Kemet. They're known as the divine dynasties. This is before what you know as dynastic Kemet. Then you have 410,000 BCE. You have in these pyramid wars, these pyramid power wars, okay? 210,000 BCE, you have in these wars. 200,000 BCE, now another flood takes place. It splits Atlantis into two, known as Ruta and Datia. They split. 100,000 BCE. Our pre-Antediluvian Shemitic ancestors, we lost total power from these antediluvian sorcerers, and a lot of these pre-Antediluvian Shemites migrated into what we know as Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, these different areas. So now you get 100,000 BCE, this is taking place. Another flood takes place, 80,000 BCE. Datia is destroyed. It leaves what is known as Ruta. This is what Plato is talking about when he talks about Atlantis, when he talks about post-Adonis. He's not talking about greater Atlantis. He's talking about the end result of Atlantis, which the final frontier, which we know that there's Noah's flood, was 9,564 BCE. This was the last submergence of the landmass of the Eretz or the Aratazah, not the whole entire planet, but a certain landmass that destroyed post-Adonis or Ruta, and now you only got remnants of Atlantis today. As all this is going on, you have what is known by a man named Noah, who was an Atlantean. This is why he named his son Shem, after the pre-Antediluvian ancestor that they had, Shemyaza or Shemjaza. Noah and all them, they did not descend from what you know as Mesopotamia. They came from out of the Indus Valley. The reason why you have these debates within the Black conscious community and the Hebrew Israelite community is because of one, most have been trapped or boxed in academic consensus, as if we can't question those that enslaved us. Excuse me, we can't question them. Two, because we're looking in the wrong area. We teach here at the Mighty Hebrew University that Abraham or Abraham, he didn't come from Mesopotamia, from Ur the Chaldeans. He came from the Indus Valley, from Ur Kasdim. There were two Urs. You had Ur of the 7th century BCE in Mesopotamia, which you know as Shinar or Sumer or Iraq. And then you had an Ur in ancient India, from which Abraham came from. He came from an ancient Haraparian or Hebrew tribe known as Yadavas. This is where you get the word YEHUDAH, YEHUDAH from, when Jacob, Yaakov named his son after a pre-Antediluvian, tribe known as YEHUDA. So there were two tribes of Judah, one coming from out of the Indus Valley, the other one coming from out of what you know as Israel through Jacob. But Jacob descended from that. Lumeria's capital was in fact the Indus Valley. So this is why we trace all our records from our Tanakh records, from the stanza, the Zion, from the Vedas, from the Puranas, whatever. We all trace that back to the Indus Valley, which became the custodians of pre-Antediluvian world history and civilization. So what we're saying at the Mighty Hebrew University is that we've always existed. There is no beginning and ending to the original man nor the original woman. It's just constant, continuous cycles. But we do understand that there is a history. And the reason why post-Antediluvian history is because after Noah, everything becomes post. So now when you start talking the first dynastic period of Egypt, 3400 BCE, Menes the first, or MICHA'EL, the embanker of the sea, on up, now you're talking post-Antediluvian. When you're talking Sumer, now that would be considered in post-Antediluvian civilizations. Sumer, from our research, would be the oldest, and post-Antediluvian civilizations. But when you start to talk about pre-Antediluvian civilizations, there were civilizations much, much older. So in fact, my sister, we are the true Elohim, or the gods and goddesses of this planet. Hallelujah. So any questions, my sister?
Damn. I don't have any questions. I'm just listening to everything you're saying. We got a lot of comments. I don't have any questions. I'm just listening to everything you're saying. Like you break it. Oh, he done disappeared again. Goddamn. He done disappeared. This man is smart. Before he came on the show, we was talking backstage, and he told me, he said, I am not your average Hebrew Yisraelite. That's what he said. He said, you will never meet another Hebrew Yisraelite like me. And goddamn, he right. I've never, ever met a Hebrew Israelite or Yisraelite that has the type of knowledge that he has. Never. And I done spoke to many, and I've never met not one that can tell me all this information that he done broke down the way he did. And I've also never met one who's actually deciphered the Bible the way he has. If y'all out there, feel free to speak up, because I know I got quite a few. I know I got rid of some of y'all off my page because y'all was just banging all on my page like gang members and shit. But there are a few on my page that don't do that. And if you're there, you know, definitely chime in. You know what I mean? Because this guy is smart, man. Like, and shout out to my king for, you know, getting him on the show and everything, because I wasn't even going to, you know, aim for him to come on the show. He wasn't even on my mind until he said something like, yo, we need to get the Mighty Hebrew on the show or whatever, you know, and I'm like, all right, well, let's do it, you know, and he connected it and everything because they friends. But in any case, like this is some, oh, he back. So hold on. All right, you back. You back.
Yeah, I'm back. It's difficult. It's difficult because I'm not in my office. So as you know, my wife just had a baby. Hallelujah. Toda Yahweh. She just had a baby, but the baby came a little early. So we here at the hospital. So, you know, any questions and answers, I'm here. You know, we can keep going. Then from there, we can get a little bit into Hebrew Israelite sovereign nationalism. Hallelujah. Let's get it.
What he say? Definitely want to learn more. Justin Hayes said he definitely wants to learn more. We got a lot of comments on here, you know.
I already know.
Yeah. We got a lot of comments on here. We got a few on YouTube that's coming in, and then we got some on Facebook. But people are basically saying they just want to learn more. They want to learn more. They want to hear more. So give us some more. Absolutely.
I give up. Okay, no doubt. So yeah, getting back into that Genesis code, it's very important for us to understand that Bereshit code, or Genesis 1:1. We've been under the misconception that, you know, this was written by the so-called white man. No, it was not. We have to stop that. because the so-called white man used that book to enslave us. When in fact, it wasn't the book itself, but it was the indoctrination that that devil developed, or that hybrid developed. But yeah, I do want to touch on something. We hear like lately about haplogroups, haplotypes, things like that. A lot of people don't want to bear testimony to this, but every nation on this planet is in fact a hybrid. They're a hybrid of the original pre-Antediluvian Lemurian giants that was on this planet. This is a fact. This is why even when you look at, if you go to Kemet, if you go to the Indus Valley, if you go to Bangladesh, if you go to India, if you go to Afghanistan, you go all over the world, you see all these cyclopean statues of pre-Antediluvian ancestors. Why? Because they was giving reverence to themselves. Let's prove it. Let's prove it. Let's go to what is known as Easter Island. A lot of people don't want to talk about this mysterious island. Why? Because of them cyclopean statues. But the funny thing about that, sis, is this, that them cyclopean statues are made out of, or carved out of, hardened volcano lava. But there's no volcano at Easter Island. So the question is, how did them cyclopean statues get there? What we saying at the Mighty Hebrew University, before we was the size as we are today, we was more gigantic in nature. The whole surface of the earth was totally different than how we dealing with it now. See, we under the impression, when you read in Genesis, a Bereshit, or falsely called Genesis, Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, when it talks about the so-called sixth day when man came, they think so-called that's when man came. And that's not true. When in fact, when you reading the Bereshit chapter 1 of Genesis 1, you're reading an archetype about things, or these root epics, or these 7 root epics that took place, or that's going to take place, to solidify the one into the many. That's all it's defining. This is the true understanding of the Sephardic tree of life, coming from out of Yahweh Iron Soap to down to the Mahut, or what you know as the mother plane or the mother earth. You see what I'm saying? There's no need now, brothers and sisters, to fight no more about if the so-called black woman is God or not, or if the black man is God or not, because one cannot exist without another. You can't, if there's a king, there's a queen. If there's a prince, there's a princess. If there is a man, there's a woman, okay? Men and women are in fact equal. But equality does not mean sameness. Our roles are different. Our perspectives are different. But the responsibility is shared. We have to stop confusing equality with sameness.
Right.
That's what we have to see. We went through this together, because right now on social media, there's a big male-female war going on within the so-called African-American community and so-called West Indian community, and even amongst even Latinos and so-called indigenous communities. Why? Because of the simple fact of the indoctrination, not understanding that when we understand polarity, then there's no need to argue. So yeah, getting back to what I'm saying, when you understand the Genesis and you understand pre-Antediluvian history by the way of ancient archaic symbols, you'll be able to piece all the history together and get a totally different outlook of historical reality. You know what I'm saying? They put us in this academic mind state that we can't question those that got us in captivity. Oh, where's your piece of evidence at to prove that such and such existed? As if we don't have anthropogenesis or anthropology, meaning the understanding and customs and mannerisms and behaviors of people. For instance, like social behavior. If you look at certain African tribes, if you go to Africa, people can point you out and be like, oh, you from that tribe, such and such. Not based on just how you look solely, but based on actions and attitude. You know what I mean?
Right.
When you look at the so-called African-American community, we differ from everybody. Our whole swag, the way we move, the way we walk. You want to know why? Because we not from this planet. The so-called African-Americans are, in fact, the incarnation which the Purana and the Vedas, Texas, all these texts and documents are talking about these netas or these Elohims, these Elohims, these Anunnakis, whatever name you want to call them. They're really talking about so-called African Americans solidifying themselves in bodily form starting at 320 million BCE. That's why we teach at the Mighty Hebrew University a polygenesis. That's what we teach. We don't acknowledge that every species come from one source. That don't make no sense, because now scientists are now confirming and acknowledging the fact that the hominoid species has mixed with other species that are not a part of their human family. So why are we talking about the out of Africa theory? The whole earth is ours. The whole planet is ours. We existed before there was an Africa, before there was an Asia, before there was America, before there was a Europe. We existed. The original gods and goddesses, or the Elohim on this planet, have always existed. Now we may have varied with different names based upon the cultural complexities and the history that surrounded us and different social behaviors that took place, but we existed. So when you talk about the Australopithecus, you're talking about the Romajos. See, we're giving you the actual esoteric names that been handed down. See, people like Eric Casey, Madam H.P. Blavatsky, all these different people that came in the 1800s, 1900s, that was talking about so-called Atlantis, so-called Mu, so-called Lemuria, all these different names of these ancient pre-Antediluvian civilizations. They really was talking about your history. But they said certain names such as Aryan, Great White Brotherhood, things like that. Y'all took that and ran and thought they was talking about European. Well, let me bust y'all bubble. Y'all know, if we talk about consensus and academia, you know, the academic world don't even accept the Aryan invasion myth no more. That was created by a devil by the name of Max Muller. He's the one that created the Aryan invasion myth, when in fact we the real Aryans. We the true Aryans. We the true children of Israel. And the reason why I'm saying this, because it's a root epic. So it don't matter if you white, black, candy stripe. This root epic right now, which is going to last us another plus 1,000 years, is in fact the Aryan root epic. It has nothing to do with a race of people. So again, giving all praise and honor to Yahweh, the supreme, intelligent, powerful one of our forefathers, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, those striving for righteousness' sake. I say shalom aleichem. This the mighty Hebrew Prince, SHAR LANDIIN. Also give a shout out to my brother Zion Lex. Give a shout out to Captain Cesaria, Priest down to Allah, Divine Prospect, the whole Hebrew war machine, YASHARAHLA, SHAR Benjamin, you know what I mean, Lord ELYAHSHUV, Prince KEZZ Israel, Crown Prince Yosef. It's just, the list goes on and on. The Hebrew Mighty Hebrew Yisraelite Sovereign Nationalistic Research Team. But yeah, if y'all have a specific question that y'all need for me to tackle, I'll tackle that question. Whatever question it may be. I'm pretty sure sis, y'all got some questions.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if they have any questions. It's more like comments. They're not really asking questions right now. They're just kind of commenting. But you know what?
Like, I mean, you can even read some of their comments, and their comments I could probably elaborate. If you like see a certain comment that I can elaborate on, I'll definitely do that. Right.
Can you see this on your screen?
So we've been oppressed, and it says something out. So we will be oppressed, and Moshiach come back. That's it. I see where that person's coming from. I'm going to say this to y'all. Again, that's a misunderstanding. And as a Hebrew Israelite Sovereign National, I got to make this clear. The understanding of Moshiach has been misunderstood in the Hebrew Israelite and most Hebrew Israelite circles because of us coming out of the religious mind state, starting some of the oldest Israelite leaders, Prophet Frank S. Cherry, 1886, William S. Crowley, 1896, Rabbi Arnold Josiah Ford, 1913, etc., etc. The word Moshiach goes back to, it's a Hebrew word that means to anoint, or one who's anointed. The word Messiah and Moshiach are two different words. The word Messiah goes back to a Hebrew word known as Moshiach, which means savior. In Hebrew Israelite sovereign nationalistic culture, Musakim, or the anointed ones, all the kings of Israel were anointed. So in that retrospect, they were all Moshiach. So there was no one person that was this spooky Moshiach that would come crack the sky and save us. We have to save ourselves, because in measurement, we enslaved ourselves. I don't care if you're talking about you a Hebrew Israelite, you in Kemetic or whatever. Why is there a tombstone today? Why is Israel a tombstone today? I'm saying the simple fact, even when you look at the Masonic ritual of Hyman Mabith, let's talk about it. We're to talk about roughly high noon, 3 ruffians knock Hyman Mabith over the head. Them 3 ruffians were in fact Judaism, Islam, and Christianity that been knocking us in our head. Hyman Mabith, remember, he was buried in a shallow grave in the Western Gate, symbolic of Solomon's temple. This is the Masonic ritual. What is the western part of Solomon's temple but the Western hemisphere that we in? Knocked in high noon, unconscious as to who we are. When you KEFAR'YEEM, falsely called Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 36, say, I'll bring you and your king into a strange land, which neither you nor your fathers have known, and there you will worship idols, wood and stone. We ain't just talking about physical wood and stone. We talking about lesser sciences of the self. Say, I'll bring you and your king. This is why they said, is it King? How? Was it Malcolm? How? Was it Huey? How? That's why they had to murder all of us through COINTELPRO, counterintelligence program, what? To stop the rise of a black messiah who were nationalized or electrified the nationalistic aims of black America. This is why the astronomers and astrologers, they peak. That's why I keep telling the black conscious community, don't put the creator on the side, because the nations of the earth are fighting you with their gods. What you think you in captivity just because? You think you here because some fat swine eating white hybrid devils put us in captivity and that's just that? Or is it a certain power force and source that these people are dealing with that's keeping us in captivity? This is what we have to dive into. This is why they never wanted us to tackle into the scriptures on that level to understand that we are, in fact, descendants of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, the true children of Israel. They didn't want us to have that power. But now, the scientific world over the so-called Jewish community, right there on their head, science and DNA has revealed that the so-called Jews are in fact KEZZs. They're not even descendants of the original Israelites, and the Israelite bones, 1,500 skulls that they found in Lachash, Israel. Them skulls that they identified as Hebrew, they said they had Negroid heads, Negroid features, and when you start studying craniology. So why don't they abstract the DNA from ancient Israelite bones? Don't try to give me some modern Jewish day DNA, which was created by Dr. Yaakov Kleiman in 1987 to legitimize themselves as being the true descent of that land over there, knowing they got over that land in 1948 and that they're not the true Israelites over there. Just like they're not the true so-called Egyptians. They're not the true people of Kemet over there. That's why Nasser, the former prime minister over there in Egypt, said, y'all left here black, talking about the Israelites. Y'all left here black and y'all came back white. We will not accept you. So what I'm saying is, we don't have to just deal with European scholars to say, you know what, this is sound. Our ancestors been teaching this culture and even other cultures for thousands and thousands and thousands and even millions of years before these people even came. You have a history, sister, of 311 trillion, 40 billion years. They trying to study themselves through us. This is why with true science is about observation. I'm a kung fu connoisseur. I love old Run Run Shaw kung fu movies. You watch the movie 5 Deadly Venoms, which you had the centipede, huh? You had the snake, you had the scorpion, the lizard, and the toad. And the way they learned these arts was through observation. But that draconian spirit of this hybrid, for him to learn about these reptiles, he got to dissect a little frog to know what it's about. You dealing with something beyond the comprehension family than what y'all can imagine. Y'all think y'all dealing with regular people out here. Y'all dealing with real bloodthirsty vampires who is out to totally destroy this planet. This is why they created COVID-19. This is why they did these, to see if the citizens will do what they told. Get them niggas and low-grade your crackers or your Gentiles a stimulus. Let them get fat. And when we ready to run up in there, we run up in there. So what I'm saying to the family, to truly understand anyone's history, whether it's the Hebrew Israelite culture, the Comedian culture, whatever the case may be, you have to go to real Hebrew Israelite scholars. Just like tonight at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, you're going to have Brother Elder Infodese. If you want to know about comedic science, real comedic science, huh? You go to people like Baba Hayrow. These, you know, you go to people that understand this type of knowledge. Even though I'm not comedic, but if somebody want to know about comedic information, I'm not going to send them to somebody that just learned on social media. No, you're going to send somebody. I've been an understudy of this close to 30 years, and I'm still learning. Even to this day, having my own students and, you know, teaching all over the world, lecturing all over the world. To this day, I'm still learning. So it's very imperative for those that understand the arts or whatever they're involved in, that have right, sound, reasonable scholars that understand how to bring forth out this information to our people. If not, they're going to still continue to look in the clouds for the mystery God to save them, instead of saving themselves. And I'm not saying that there is no creator or emanated one. What I'm saying is not from what has been dressed to us by European package. Any more questions?
Yeah, we do got a question up here. Here we go. He says, I want to know if there's a prophetic element to our heritage in the reference to our African American heritage. Say
that one more time. He said, was there a prophet? What now? Because you was breaking up.
He says he wants to know if there's a prophetic element to our heritage in reference to our African American heritage.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, there's a prophetic heritage. If you go into DIMONA or Deuteronomy chapter 28, starting at verse 15 to 68, as well as Bereshit chapter 15, Genesis 15:13. It speaks about, now, a lot of people are trying to say this 400-year captivity, as we know, is defined when we was in Egypt. When you look at Shemot, falsely called Exodus chapter 12, verse 12 to 13, it speaks about how we was in Egypt. Chapter 12, I think verse 40 to 41, it speaks about how we was in Egypt for 430 years, or we sojourned in Egypt. But that's not what Genesis chapter 15 says. It speaks about how we will be in a strange land that is not ours, and we shall be afflicted. And it used the Hebrew anak in Hebrew, the same word for I'll hold that question. I'm going to answer this. The same word anak, when you go into Vayikra, falsely called Leviticus chapter 23, when you read about the Day of Atonement, or what you know as Yom Kippur, it uses the same Hebrew word anak, means to afflict. So from 1619 to August 19, 2019, that was the 400 years right there. That was the pronostication of the starting process of Yeshaya or Yeshayahu or Isaiah chapter 11, verses 11 and 12, the second wave, because the first wave came in 1967 when the late Rabbeinu Adenu Ben Ami Ben Yisrael, Prince Asiya and all them, when you read in Zechariah chapter 12, verse 9, it breaks down how the tents of Judah would be first. That's why we left in 1967 and we built the community kingdom of Yah and DIMONA, Israel, northeastern Africa prior to the excavation of the Suez Canal, 1869 to 1859 to 1869. That whole land mass was known as northeastern Africa or Gabanti. But getting back to the point, when you look at the 400 years, look what's happening right now in 2020. After August 19th, 2019, what they doing? They imposing martial law in the form of a pandemic. Y'all ain't even dig it. Remember, the president in Ghana, all them over there in West Africa, was doing ceremonies, apologies, even putting acts out there about commemorating the 400-year captivity that our forefathers and foremothers went through, just fulfilling prophecies, proving that we are, in fact, the true children of YISRAEL or YASHARAHLA. This is a fact, man. Those over in Africa, they know who we are. And they put the proclamation out there. It was for us to leave or start station ourselves from out of this wicked, grotesque land. And now 2020, on the state of martial law, and it's brothers and sisters. Trust me. Any more questions?
You broke up a little bit at the end.
I hope I answered that question.
I do have another question for you, though, right here. Okay, your mic is muted, I believe, because we cannot hear you.
Yeah. You said it's Canaan pre-Antedilulvian. No, Canaan is post-Antediluvian. It's post. If you're talking about the man Canaan, yes, it's post. See, a lot of people think land masses in ancient times were just named. But in ancient times, land masses weren't named. Land masses was identified based upon the people that was living on there. Like, for instance, if you say the land of Canaan, when you say the land of Canaan, the people was Canaan because they descended back to a progenitor or a haplotype known as Canaan. Because remember, haplo goes back to haplos, which is a Greco-Latin word that means one-fold. So when they talk in haplotypes, they talking about progenitors and haplogroups being them tribes and nations that they come from. So no, Canaan itself is post-diluvian. Now there's a pre-antediluvian element. If you're talking the landmass itself, yes, the landmass was there, but it could have deferred, and I know that it deferred. And when I'm saying could, I'm only speaking in the context of what we're talking about here by the way of the question. But if we're talking factually, it deferred because it was greater in body mass. Sometimes it could have been lesser. Like a lot of people don't know that Ethiopia originally started as an island. And what happened, the fertile soil in Ethiopia, a kawash, start pushing down. And this how Kemet was developed based upon the fertile soil coming down from the island, what we know today known as Ethiopia. But this was so many centuries ago. See, we're looking at Africa, America, everything today as yesterday, and it just wasn't so. You know what I'm saying? So any more questions?
All right, so we do got another one. Cameron Bryant, he wants to know if,
Indeed.
right here, is there a king for us? A king?
We'll say that one more time. A king Cronus?
No, he wants to know, is there a king for us?
Oh, absolutely. Is there a king for us? I mean, right now, if you want to know who the king is, I'm saying that's Prince Asiel. Because you got to look at it. It said, I will send you and your king into a strange land. So that means that our king came. So there is a line of Davidic kings that reside with us right now. So now what we need to do is look at, you know, the archives of historical reality. And one of them was as African, talking about conscience, whether
You're
Negroes,
breaking
whether it
up.
was Holly, Malcolm X, whether Martin Luther King, whether it was Yahweh Ben Yahweh, whether it was Imam Isa, aka Dr. Malachi Z, or whether it was Hugh P. Newton, whether it was Fred Hampton, whether it's the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, whether it's the most honorable Louis Farrakhan, whether it's the late Ben Ami. The point that I'm expressing is that there's always been this figurative, charismatic leader in the minds of the people. So I'm saying Cain, the king is here. I'm saying that king is Prince Asiel ben Yisrael, who y'all know in second in command of the late Ben Ami, who is the actual one that was sending us all back to DIMONA. Like, you can go right now on YouTube and just type up the African Hebrew Israelites of Jerusalem or the Hebrew Israelites in DIMONA, Israel. What we're saying is it can work. Not to say we agree with everything, because we all make mistakes. But this was the only self-governed autonomy that was successful. Even Marcus Garvey, when he tried, he didn't even get that far as to what you see in DIMONA. You can go right now to DIMONA, Israel, and you can see our people over there by the thousands self-governing themselves, bringing forth their own children, teaching their own children, got their own clothing line, got their own school. These are the things that we desire. Now, one might say, well, they're doing it in Israel. That ain't Africa. Why wouldn't it be? That is Northeastern Africa. There's no such thing as the so-called Middle East. That term came during World War II correspondence in 1945. There's no such thing, because my thing is, where's the Middle North, the Middle West, the Middle South? We got to stop letting people redefine and define to us. Language don't define us. We define language. This is what we got to get back into. We have to take the spiritual Magna Charta and put it back in our hands. This is where Hebrew Israelite sovereign nationalism comes in at. This is when you bring the Torah into its institutional, social embodiment by the way of principles. This is how you create constitution. This is how you create amendment. This is how you create a court system and totally separate yourself from the wicked nations that are around us. We cannot use the same tools that those enslaved us. It's not going to work. The hell with being a Democrat, Republican, liberal, Tea Party, independent. The hell, what is that? Black Lives Matter. All these is games to continue our fall over here. And as we fall in, the wicked nations around us is constantly rising from our fall.
Word.
I'm here.
All right. So there's a question on here. You know, it's the same question I actually was going to ask you. What's the difference between a Yisraelite and a Hebrew Israelite?
A Hebrew Israelite versus, oh, okay, the way you see it spelled. Oh, because it's just being spelled in modern Hebrew. Israel is pronounced YISRAEL. It's pronounced YISRAEL with a Y. So it's the same thing, but there is a difference if you asking from a Hebrew Israelite versus a Hebrew Israelite sovereign national. Yes, there is a difference. I'm going in my car real quick so I don't for this, you know, emergency, the baby I came, so, you know, forgive me, but I will be in my office. But yeah, there is definitely a difference. A Hebrew Israelite is one that means, yeah, I'm a Hebrew Israelite. You know, I know the curses of Deuteronomy, such and such. It applies to me, etc. But it's always that waiting on a Hebrew Israelite sovereign, not able to define themselves in terms based on nationalistic issues. There is no separation. Like, I'm Torah centered, meaning I believe in quote unquote Jesus, where you have some Hebrew Israelites that do. But as a Hebrew Israelite sovereign national, it doesn't separate me from my Hebrew Israelite brother that may acknowledge YAHWEH or Yeshua, quote unquote JC Jesus, because I understand the nationalistic picture. Just like with you might be in Kemetic thought, sister, but in my eyes, we all Israelite sovereign national. That devil not gonna say to Sister Fari X, you Kemet, mighty Hebrew, I'ma stomp him in the ground and I'ma leave you alone. He gonna stomp us both in the ground. You see what I'm saying? He not going, that devil not going to distinguish if this sister Kemetic or this brother Kemetic, this brother Hebrew, this brother Moore, this sister Nuwabian. They don't care about none of that. Only thing they care about is once niggas start identifying with nationalism. That why you think they had to crush black nationalists? Go look at the COINTELPRO papers. Go on FOP Israelites, where I did a lecture on the FBI and COINTELPRO, and they said it. They give you several key points within the COINTELPRO papers how to destroy any type of black radical organization. And one of the main things they do is they have to cause division with the leadership in the youth. That's why the youth today disrespect the elders, because it already been systematically designed before they was even born that this was going to happen. They even show you this in the so-called Willie Lynch letters. They had to divide and disassociate the youth from the elderly, because remember, in Hebrew, Zakwanim don't just mean elder, it means ancient ones. DIMONA, Deuteronomy chapter 32, verses 6 to 8 tell us to remember the days of old and go to those before us. Go to your elders, they may tell you. But if you destroy the elders, what do you have? If you destroy people like Baba Heru, if you destroy Ben Ami, if you destroy Dr. York, if you destroy Farrakhan, if you destroy Queen Mother Moore, if you destroy, Coretta Scott King, Afeni Shakur, if you destroy the elders before us, you have no one. This is what they had. This was systematically designed for this to be like it. It was already designed for Hebrew Israelites and Camites to go up against each other the way they're doing. They already mapped this out in COINTELPRO. Just imagine on nationalistic issues, fuck a Kemet on trial. America need to be on trial. That's who need to be on trial for the over 400 plus years of the grotesque abominations that they've done unto our ancestors over here. We arguing, fighting over who came first, Israel or Kemet. Let's talk about who been putting their foot up in our ass. That's what we need to be talking about, because they got Israel and they got Egypt, God damn it. So what are we going to do about it? Are we going to continue to argue? Now I'm on the part we talking Hebrew Israelite sovereign nationalism, because Hebrew Israelite sovereign nationalism supersedes all the tripping. It supersedes all that. It makes you confront your worstest fear, your worstest enemy, excuse me, yourself. We are our worst enemy. We are. All this, the white man this, the white man that, the white man this, the white. Okay, yeah. Elijah Muhammad put pants on that devil. We know who he is, but who are we? We can't say the cops shooting us down, but we shooting each other down. That's oxymoronic. You cannot ask for justice when you're not manifesting justice in your own backyard. Period. If you want justice and you want the nations of the earth to respect you, then you have to come with some type of moral codes and show self-respect and self-determination within your own communities. So what I'm saying is we brought ourselves in captivity. And the only way to come
All right, he done lost reception again. Pookie Moon, I'm gonna make sure I put up your question by the time we end this segment right here, because that's a good question. 1 second, he's back on. Wait, it didn't connect. It's connecting. Peace. All right, you lost reception again.
Yeah,
I got another question on here.
I'm telling you, this reception up here is crazy.
We're gonna. Yeah, I understand. Before we wrap this up, though, I do have another question because I have Dr. Minister Inky coming on right after you. So, but
oh, that's my brother. That's my brother, Minister Inky.
Yes, he's coming on. He's coming on right after you. All right, so she wants to know: are you basically saying you're a Hebrew Moor?
No, I'm a Hebrew Israelite. Sovereign national. I'm saying if you talking about the last stronghold, what was in Grenada, I mean, if you talking geopolitically, we would all be Moors in a geopolitical sense. But is that my ethnicity? No, I'm a Hebrew Israelite. I'm Hebrew because I'm a descendant of a man by the name of Eber. Okay, which is my national, my tribal heritage is Israel. Why? Because I'm a descendant of a man by the name of Yaakov or Yaakov, Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. So, and the tribe I'm from is YEHUDA, YEHUDAH, Judah. So I'm a Hebrew Israelite. Naturally, that's my nationality and tribal heritage. I'm a sovereign national. Why? Because the Most High is sovereign. And in that retrospect, us being the Most High in physical form would make us sovereign. And we nationals, because everything as a Hebrew Israelite is going to be centered around Torah Constitution.
There you go, his reception again, you all. Again, just to let you all know, those who are just now tuning in, he's in a bad area in the mountains. He's in Seattle right now. So it's just very poor reception out there, and he's kind of in and out, and that's why his sound and everything. But let me see. I think we gotta. He broke up, Pookie Moon. Pookie Moon, he broke up. I'm pretty sure he'll be back on. He's back on right now. Hold on. Okay, continue what you were saying, please.
Yeah. I found a better spot. I think that spot was more weaker. So getting back to the point as to what I was saying, in a national sense, each nation has their own constitution. So in that retrospect, our constitution would be Torah for us. Israel as a nation would be a body politic. But speaking of the Moors, give a shout out to Moors such as, Sharif Bey, Tahaka Bey. I've been on Moors World TV. I will be back on Moors World TV in the next couple of weeks. You type in Mike Hebrew and Moors World TV, you'll see me on there. Man, shout out to Sheik 7L. So I deal with a whole bunch of Moors that understand, they sovereign national identity as Moors. But even in that retrospect, our captivity is so unique, it's going to be even greater than that. It's going to be a collaboration of Israelites, Moors, Kemetic scientists, Nubians, whatever, that's going to take a stand. Bloods, Crips, Neanderthals, Vice Lords, GDs, it don't matter. We in a time right now, and our history, it's like G Money said to Nina, we all we got. That's the level that we have to come back to. We have to come back to the level back in the day when you and your best friend used to wear each other clothes. You know what I mean? When you can go next door to Miss Jackie's house and ask for a cup of sugar. When you was bad, your next door neighbor can spank you if they seen you doing something wrong. We have to come back to this mind state once again, and it's happening slowly. And when you see all these things, how they shutting us in our homes, I'm saying for those that are in tune spiritually, this is a time where you need to get that inner spiritual strength, whether if you meditate in making tafillah or you're judging oneself or making prayer based on your understanding, because I'm not here to tell anybody to believe what I say. people to come follow me. No, you are not here on this plane to just follow men. You are here to experience and express a portion of truth that is contained within the self. And once we understand that we all have a significant place in this greater scheme, things will get better for us. And the way to do it is I'm talking about the scholars and all these schools of thought have to now stop being prejudiced and biased against one to another and pull out the greatest scholars in all these schools of thought. So, and them scholars need to understand each other's works. So then these misunderstandings and social misnorms can be corrected amongst the nations of these people or these scholars that are involved. For instance, if a person is saying, well, Kemetic people believe thus, and while as Budge, a European, taught this lie for hundreds of years, and then you make that say hypothetical, you get Infidezi. He may correct that thought. It's for me as a scholar to say, you know what, that's wrong, brother. I know a Kemetic scholar that broke that down and can prove that's not true. And vice versa, Kemetic scholars should be able to say, you know what, we have real Hebrew scholars that can break thus down. You should go to Prince SHAR LANDIIN or the Mighty Hebrew or Dr. Morey Yoel ben Yisrael or Prince KEZZ ben Israel or Prince ASIEL ben, etc. This is how a form of respect come amongst the scholarship body of these nations, and in turn amongst the practitioners of the thoughts of these people, and in turn now you have better communication amongst these different groups, but they all are part of one umbrella. Hallelujah.
Word. All right.
I hope I answered your question, sis.
I hope you did too. I hope you answered her question too.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope so. Any other questions?
We do, but I can't get to them right now. Yeah, they're coming in, but I can't get to them right now because I have to get on to the next show with Dr. Inky.
Okay, so what I'll do is later on this evening, tell them to keep asking questions. And this evening, I have my scholarship body go and answer them questions. And I'll have it on there for them. And if they can't do it on the live, just to put it on your comment, and I have them come back to the comment and answer the questions. And you gotta get me on for part 2, because I want to do a PowerPoint. I want to do a PowerPoint.
You want to do a PowerPoint on here?
I want to do a power. Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
I'll have you on for a part 2 because we got questions coming in. They're coming in. You know what I mean? So yeah, you could definitely get at them, you know, in the comment section on the Fari X page or whatever way you decide to do it.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it's definitely an honor. It's definitely an honor. Absolutely. It's definitely an honor, a privilege to be on this show. Give a shout out, you know what I mean, to Master Cypher Law. That's my brother. That's my comrade. You know, he been working with me for a long time. I pray that, you know, the Creator continue to bless you and him and anything that you touch, that you continue to get the blessings, whatever you trying to do, that the Creator give you whatever you desire. I just want to give a shout out to the whole Hebrew Yisraelite sovereign nation worldwide, and to all men, women, and children that's striving for righteousness, no matter what vehicle you coming from. If you take the principles of them vehicles and abstract truth will come, because truth is in fact the promised effect. With that, I'm out. Shalom Aleichem, the Mighty Hebrew, Prince SHAR LANDIIN.
Peace, God. I'll have you back on in like a week or so. All right.
Absolutely, Goddess. Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom.
It's the scoop with Fari. Go off.